Boom. I'm live. I'm fat. I can tell. I feel fat. Got this little gut going on here. This gut that I don't want. Ate some chicken breasts today. Cooked in a bit of olive oil and some shitload of garlic. You'd probably smell me about a block away as far as garlic. I probably smell like a garlic pizza with extra garlic. Yep, here we are back on the same place that got me banned yesterday and said you can't go back on for a week or whatever. And then I appealed it and they put me right back on. And the reason that they're doing this is to just break the flow. You ever notice that when your favorite NBA team, in this case, just fill one in because I fucking hate basketball, but whenever they start to get on a roll, the other team calls a timeout. Football too. They just do a little timeout thing because they want to just break the momentum. You know, once you got Big Mo on your side, man, shit gets crazy. So that's what they're doing here. When they kicked me off of TikTok, they're not really kicking me off of TikTok. What they're saying is, whoa, you're getting too good at this. Slow down, man. There's too many people hearing too much truthiness. That was another one that George Bush came up with, truthiness. Strategery was my favorite, but truthiness was definitely a good one too. Interestingly enough, for those of you who don't know, that simpleton dipshit George Bush was not a simpleton, and he was not a dipshit. He was actually on the debate team at Yale. Now, I know you're thinking, well, it's just because of who his dad was. No. You can slip and slide your way through Ivy League schools based on who your parents are. That's obvious, Donald Trump. But the bottom line is you usually have to earn it. Like you usually have to earn it. Yeah. So he's not stupid, but he played stupid really well. A good old boy you want to have a beer with, not too bright, but honest as the day is long kind of thing. And if you look at it, as far as worst presidents, he's not even near the top of the list of most Democrats even. They're like, oh yeah, he's an idiot, but he's not. He wasn't as bad as Trump or the first George Bush or Reagan or they just go on down the line. Nixon, which hard to argue with Nixon being a shit president. How far out are we to begin hit by EMP? Wow, that sentence was just a clusterfuck of syntax. But I did get where you were going with that. And since this is over here, Big and Corn-Fed Actual is my actual prepper sort of. I don't really consider myself a prepper because, I don't want to dig a hole in the ground and then climb in it with some woman who I have 28 kids with. Although I'm not opposed to having 28 kids, simply because there's not a lot of kids being born these days. The human race is, at this point, going out with a whimper really fast. Like birth rates are declining worldwide. So I distracted myself and got off topic, by the way. EMP. Well, if Iran does it, probably never. If Israel does it, sometime in the next week or two. Because we are in a situation where Trump said some stupid shit today. Of course, what did you expect? a guy who's never served in the military. He said that we may go boots on the ground. He also said we may reinstitute the draft. But then he also said we've accomplished everything that we set out to do in this war. Now, here's the funny part. When we pull out of this war, it ain't over. It ain't over. We kicked a hornet's nest. We actually threatened the survival of the state of Iran. That's right, it's only the beginning. Silver is up. Don't hold your breath. If it's over 80, I'm happy. If it's over 120, I'm scared shitless again. I don't want that. That's, although they've got so many other things they can distract us with, we don't really need that kind of a distraction. They have oil to play with now, and oil is so much more fun to manipulate than silver. Donald Trump does think he's Jesus Christ. I will say that. I'm not going to go so far as to say he is, but clearly he thinks he is. And he wants his legacy to be that there's going to be a third temple, even though Christ said there would not be a temple, that the temple would not exist after one more generation. And 30 years later, it was destroyed. Prophets go, that's pretty good prophecy. Now, that's not obviously what our biggest ally in the Middle East believes. They believe that, you got to tear down that mosque, that really, really important mosque, and build a temple there. Well, that's a problem, Ed. The one thing that you got to laugh about is that Donald Trump's made it very clear he does not expect to go to heaven, and he's not a Christian. And honestly, I respect him at least for saying that. I mean, that's in this country, to say that you're not a Christian, to say that you're not going to heaven, you're probably going to that other place. Well, that's brutally honest, because let's face it, if you think that Biden and Obama are going to heaven, you're out of your mind. You think George W. Bush is going to heaven after the hundreds of thousands of civilians and children that we killed in Iraq and Afghanistan? Now, granted, we didn't shoot them for sport like they were bunny rabbits. We killed them on accident. The net result is unalived is unalived. Well, now that's coming from a guy whose name is Van Life, and it says more everything that Trump does costs us more and more. Yes, you are correct. And I think based on that moniker, you probably are more sensitive to that than most if you're living in a van, which, by the way, is a huge thing now. It used to be, hey, check me out. I'm a free spirit. I'm just gonna go check out the world, man. The world's my oyster. I'm just gonna drift around, have a good time. Now it's like, okay, so I got this van because I can't afford an apartment, because an apartment is, well, I'll give you a perfect example. My ex-wife lives in a nice part of Phoenix. It's not the nicest part, but it's nice. And shockingly, she pays almost $2,000 a month for an 800 square foot one bedroom. Now, how's that possible? How is it possible that you are spending $2,000 a month? That's not possible. It's just not possible, but it's true. So, Yeah, everything's getting more expensive. Um, we were making about 300, excuse me, yeah, it was 324 dollars a week. It was the average salary worker's salary in 2000. And last year it was $374. Now, think about what I just said. It went up by about 50 bucks per week from 320 to 370 over the course of 25 years, a quarter of a century. During that same quarter of a century, the cost of a house went from $189,000 to $420,000. The cost of the average consumer car or light truck went from 22,000 to over 50,000. Don't even get me started on education. And everybody has to have a degree. So it used to cost about a year and a half's worth of the average salary in the United States in order to buy a house. This was back in 1970. It was about 1.5 to 2 years for a nice house, 3 years salary, and that was it. You owned your house. Now, and it depends on where you look. If you look on the Federal Reserve's website, St. Louis Fed for median income. The median income they say is 54,000, but they still say that the average salary worker, so anybody who works at a McDonald's or a Jack in the Box or TJ Maxx or Target, they're making $35,000 as of last year. 35,000. Now keep in mind they were making 32,000 25 years ago. So yeah, it's completely insane. No, no, I don't have a degree. I decided to spend my time studying instead. Went to a little bit of college, just enough to play football. And after I played for a season without getting hurt at all, since I was 38 years old at the time, I decided, okay, I've pushed my luck. I proved I'm a stud, to myself at least. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. So I stopped playing football and started doing MMA. Well, I didn't actually finish high school either. I I got to my senior year, and my dad got very drunk one night, which he did quite often. We'll call it PTSD or whatever. He worked for the CIA, and I think he hated his job. Um, I don't think he bought the bullshit completely, and he'd done a little too much homework into who killed JFK to be working for the CIA, if you know what I mean. So, not pointing any fingers here, but yeah, he got drunk one night and decided when I was about just turned 17 that he was going to come into the bathroom where I was brushing my teeth after I'd taken my shower. Was getting ready to go to bed, and he decided he was going to come in and whoop my ass, just on general principle. And he was probably a whole bottle of Smirnoff into the night, and uh, it wasn't Smirnoff; it was Kamchatka. That was the one with the factory on the bottle, right? I think that's Kamchatka. Anyway, whatever. Bottom line is, he decided he was going to come in and just beat my ass for ruining his life. When I say ruining his life, what I mean, when he found out that my girlfriend was pregnant, uh, this is one of my 5 children, the first one. He said, "Don't make the same mistake I made. Just walk away and don't look back." And I said, when you say mistake, I assume you're referring to me. And, you catch a guy off guard like that. I mean, obviously he's going to be embarrassed, right? No. He said, and I quote, you can quote me on this, and please, I know you're going to want to complain to uh, TikTok, but I'm just repeating what he said. He said, "Oh, son, don't be such a cunt." And I said, "Oh no, 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 Dad, I wouldn't want to do that." And he said, "Oh well, fuck. I can tell you're going to be a pain in the ass for the rest of this conversation, so I'll just talk to you some other time." And he hung up on me. No, I can laugh about that now because now, all these years later, it's funny. I mean, honestly, it was kind of funny when it happened because I hung up the phone and I thought, huh, don't make the same mistake I made. Could that mean something that I don't like? Does that mean something I don't realize it means? There's got to be a different, like, there's a deeper meaning than this, right? Somewhere, if I dig. And so, no, no, it was pretty much exactly what it sounded like. So, it was definitely interesting. He came in one night when I was 17 and he was drunk and he kicked the door off the hinges. Oh yeah, he kicked the door off the hinges and in the of the bathroom. And I was down on one knee brushing my teeth because I'm 6'7". They don't make counters for me, so all counters in bathrooms come up to just above my knee. So I was down on one knee brushing my teeth, and I saw the door come off the hinges, and I thought, nope, 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 not again. Not gonna let this happen again. So he came in swinging, and he was pretty drunk. He knocked a towel rack off the wall, which was a hell of a thing to do because it was made of oak. Remember, this was the 80s when oak and brass was all that, man, a bag of chips. Then he took a swing with his left, which is not his good hand. His good hand, and I know, is his right. So he knocked the towel rack off with the right, took a swing with the left, and caught the medicine cabinet, which of course just pissed him off even worse. So I did the only thing I could do, which is, of course, you're not going to hit your parents. I mean, who does that? You don't hit your father. It's just a rule, and somebody else's shitty behavior is not going to dictate my behavior. Period. So I knew I wasn't going to hit him, but by God, I was tired of him hitting me, man. I'd grown up. First 4 times my nose had been broken, it was by him before I turned 8. I was done. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm not letting him hit me anymore. So I bear hugged him, and imagine that bear hug. He's drunk, he's sweaty, and he reeks of vodka. Yeah, I think vodka and maybe Paco Rabanne cologne. And so, I wrestled him around a little bit in the bathroom, and then we ended up falling into the bathtub, and I ended up falling on top of him. And by that point, I was 17. I'm 6 foot, about 6'4" then, and I weighed 276 pounds, and I fell on him, and he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't get me off of him because I was just too damn big, and he was too damn drunk, and too old, and too tired, and so he wrestled around and said, "Get the hell off me," a couple times, and I said no, and he finally quit wrestling with me and said, "All right, I'm done." And I said, "Are you done?" He said, "I'm done." I said, "If I let you up, you're not going to hit me." He goes, "Nope." And I said, "I want your word that you're not going to hit me again, ever." And he goes, "All right, fair enough. I'm not going to hit you." And I said, "Okay." I mean, that's theoretically, that's the way men are. Man gives you his word, that's his fucking word, period. So I got up off of him, got out of the bathtub, grabbed him by the hand and pulled him up out of the bathtub, and he stood up, and he was not quite as tall as I was by then. I was 6'4", and he'd shrunk. He was about 6'3", and he looked at me and he said, "All right, so that's the way it's going to be from now on, huh? You're the big man around here." And I said, "No, but I ain't letting you hit me again." He goes, "All right, fair enough. Then you got two choices. I can put you in a foster home tomorrow, or you can join the fucking Navy, just like I did." And he pushed past me and walked out of the bathroom. Woo! Well, that's the thing. People say all the time, "Man, I'm so sorry." I don't know. Sure made me tough as fuck, I can tell you that. Now, did it make me a sociopath? That's the question. Because I think about psychopaths. Psychopaths are broken. They're born that way. They don't feel anything for anybody ever, period. End of story. They feel nothing. Okay. Well, then, if you can't feel love, you can't feel empathy, you can't feel regret, you don't feel fear, and you absolutely have no concept of what the word love means, as far as I'm concerned, you're not even a human. Although you might look like one, and you can watch others and learn how to act like one. I think a sociopath is made through a lot of trauma. They build up walls and whatnot. And so they appear to be very cold, but they're not. They're just very careful. It's almost like Spock. Yes, very emotional, but very controlled in his emotions. And I think that that's probably the best way to describe me. I don't know. My friends in the Marine Corps were absolutely convinced that I was a psychopath because of what happened when I was pointed at the enemy. But I think that that's different. I don't. It's funny. You don't talk a lot about that with other people, but not feeling any remorse about hurting somebody who you are convinced is bad. I don't know that there's anything abnormal about that at all. I think that's perfectly normal, actually. If you know somebody is really bad and you're put in a position where you have to do something about it, then hurting them is not that big a deal at all. It's really not. But where I draw the line is when they talk about things like with the Israelis, women and children, and how, oh well, everybody in Gaza is guilty. No, 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 no. That's absolutely not the case. I can tell you for a fact that that is not how real humans operate. Like a real human being does not do that. We don't hurt the innocents. We don't. You just don't. I don't give a fuck if you're a Christian or not. I wasn't a Christian in the Marine Corps. When I was in the Marine Corps, I thought Christians were imbeciles. I thought they were pussies. Because it's like, oh, you so goody good, whatever, man. We're here to kill motherfuckers. That was my attitude. It's like, you want to be a Christian? Great. Join the fucking Coast Guard. No, nothing against the Coast Guard, but what do? They save people all the time. If your ship's sinking, you don't call the United States Marine Corps. We will sink you faster. But you would call the Coast Guard. They'd come and rescue your ass. Well, that sounds very, very Christian to me. But flattening an entire village full of bad guys, that's not a Christian thing to do. But that's what Marines do best. But the idea of doing it at the expense of knowing, and this is the problem, knowingly harming women and children. No, that's one of the things that that I think fucks guys up the worst is the idea that, like in Somalia, where they would literally force women and children to stand in front of these fucking disgusting humans, these absolute cowards. And they knowing that we have a problem with this, like we don't want to do this. This is not us. This is not, we're humans, and humans don't kill women and children. Knowing that, they would hide behind women and children and shoot at, I remember, what's his name? He said something really funny. He was talking about how he handled it, and he was a Navy SEAL. He got in some trouble because he posed with a dead Iraqi, and it was a big problem. But one thing led to another. He finally got it all straightened out. But they were interviewing him, and he was talking about how he specifically was in one of these situations, and he's trying to figure out how to put a couple of these guys out of their misery, and they were hiding behind a group of women and children, forcing them to stand in this alleyway between them. And he said at one point they sent some children down the alley as if to say, "Here, you can go. We'll let you go." And before they got to the Americans, these guys shot these children in the back, killed them right in front of the Americans, knowing how the Americans would react to that. And he said, when you see that right in front of you, because they'd almost made it to safety, he said that what that does to you is completely unimaginable. And the only thing that you can do is to take those emotions and just fucking stuff them down as hard as you can. That's the only way to get through what you're in. And he said, it's stuffing your emotions down may not be the healthiest thing to do, but he said, what else can you do in that situation? You don't have a choice. You take those emotions and you fucking shove them down and you cut them off, and you do not allow yourself to feel any of that. Dakota Meyer from Kentucky. The name sounds familiar. Dakota Meyer. Heard that name a lot lately for some reason. Why? Who's Dakota Meyer? Let's see. Okay, I just typed and nothing happened. Dakota Fanning. Come on, you fuckers know who I'm looking for. Dakota Meyer. Oh, the Marine. Yeah, I know exactly who that is. He's the guy who got his arm broken, right? Is he the guy who just got his arm broken? Are you related to Ulysses S. Grant? Theoretically, yeah, because I went to one of these Highland Scottish games, and told them my name, and they said, and I said, hey, what are the odds that I'm related to Ulysses S. Grant? And the woman just stared at me and she said, what's your last name again? And I said, it's Grant. And she said, well, what do you think the odds are? And I said, is everybody named Grant related? And she goes, yeah, that's the whole point of having a family name. And I went, oh. So I told her who I was, and she was like, oh yeah, third uncle once removed, or something like that. But yeah. Let's see, Robin Hood McGregor. Now, a lot of people in Ireland think that that's actually Conor McGregor, probably. No, wait a minute. Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor from Kentucky. Yeah, no, wait a minute. didn't he just start writing books and talking a lot and then he's getting into politics? God, don't do it, man. Jesus, don't do it. I love my Marines, man, but I just don't want to see them go into politics, because whatever you mix with politics becomes politics. Religion and politics make politics. Science and politics make politics. Politics absolutely infects, metastasizes, and destroys the host of whatever it touches. That's a fact. Like, these guys that go to Washington D.C., they should literally have the strictest laws, the most punitive damages against them. If you are caught lying, I don't care what it's about. I don't care. Kristi Noem, you spent $221 million on Instagram posts? What the fuck? I do that for free. Now, granted, I don't have as cool costumes as you do, but seriously, $221 million? That's just gross. That's pathetic. So, if they lie about anything, penis size of the fish they caught, doesn't matter what, they should immediately have a minimum sentence in prison. And it should be a prison, not a federal fucking work camp. Federal work camps are a joke, folks. That's where people like Ivan Boesky went. He went to a federal work camp in Lompoc. Abramoff. Most of you aren't old enough to remember who Jack Abramoff was. But Jack Abramoff ended up working at a pizza place as an accountant while he was in prison. Now he's a multi-millionaire again. You have to lie to the enemy when you're in war. Lying to them and killing women and children are very different. I'm not sure what you mean there, Bill. Obviously one of the oldest sayings about war is that the first casualty of war is truth. That's a given. We all know that. What about all the rest of the time? Because right now we're not at war. Just to be clear, we have not declared a war. The United States of America has been at war every single year that it has existed, except for 7. We have not been at war with anyone for any reason for an entire 7-year period, not contiguous, in our 250-year history. We definitely aren't in war. We are simply killing other people's children. That's it. And by the way, what the fuck are the odds? I think a double tap is really. Let me turn my ringer off. I think a double tap is violates everything that the Geneva Convention stands for, and it's highly illegal. Highly illegal. Whoever put together that strike package probably was some lazy fat fuck who decided to use Claude and just said, hey, put together a strike package for IRGC sites. And they didn't update Claude. Nobody updated all the numbers and showed that, oh, by the way, that IRGC site is now just an admin building. And it sits 50 feet from a girls' school. So, the bitch of it is that they've figured out that it was absolutely a tomahawk. And the reason is because when the bombs started falling, somebody a block away on a rooftop happened to be pointing their camera in that direction. And you can clearly see a tomahawk come streaking in at damn near a 90-degree angle, about an 80-degree angle, and hit the school. Fuck. Now, the double tap part of that, I can't even imagine. The girls' school, those 175, 185 little girls that were killed at that girls' primary school, that was the United States. Trump said today that it was Iran, and of course, that's fucking stupid. Pete Hegseth would not back him up on that. He said, well, it's under investigation. Because Trump said, nope, it was Iran. I was told it was Iran. And then they literally looked past him at Pete Hegseth and said, is that true? And he said, well, it's under investigation. You know, we do know that the Iranians are the only ones who kill children. And here's the thing about Pete Hegseth. There's a human in there. I could see there's a soul in there because he was looking right at the camera when he said it, and then he just looked away, and he just stared down, and he didn't look back up. And I thought, oh, man, you just crossed a fucking line in your own soul, didn't you, boy? You just literally crossed that fucking line. All right. I've never had to cross that line, but I know what that line looks like. I've seen others cross it, and you just fucking crossed it. He just looked right into the TV cameras, and, you know, there's lies. Oh, that dress doesn't make you look fat. Oh, I have the fucking, you know, world's record at this. Whatever. Guys lie for all kinds of dumb reasons, as well as some very ugly ones. Women lie all the time, too. It's a human condition. Theoretically, the little white lies are the ones we tell to protect other people from the truth. Whatever. There are some lies that are so fucking egregious that when you contemplate letting them go from your head to your face, it's like, oh, okay. And I could see that was one of them. Yeah, it looks like that school was double tapped, and that I don't understand that, man. I don't understand that. No, I don't watch CNN, although you could start watching CNN now. It's owned by the IDF. I mean, look, Paramount Plus, all those were all bought by Larry Ellison, who is the largest single contributor to the IDF on earth. $100 million last year alone. And no, Larry Ellison is not Jewish, but his adoptive parents are. Well, I don't know about Slim. I think Slim's pushing it. Fit? Yes. I am a lot stronger than the average person, average man. A lot stronger. Like gorilla strong. So I'm sure you probably meant to hurt my feelings with that, but if you could actually stand in front of me and look up at me and go, fuck, man, you look more like a fucking moose than a man, then I would just laugh. So I'm just going to laugh now. The Todd father. Jesus Christ. Is that huge gray thing? Is that a beard? Oof. I wouldn't mess with you. Well, you could mess with me and get away with it because I don't get mad very often. You know, after you do MMA for a long time, or you've been in a lot of fights and broken your hands and gotten your teeth loosened up a couple times. I actually had my front teeth loosened up once. He's a big Mexican dude, which I know is unusual. Normally Mexicans are tough as hell, but they're small. This whole family, the dad owned the Harley dealer in Atascadero, California. It wasn't a dealership; it was a Harley repair shop, and he was a Hell's Angel. Seemed like a nice guy. They all went to the bar one night to watch the Super Bowl, and the bar owner had asked me to just sort of hang out and make sure nothing got out of hand. And I said, "Shit, no problem. All right, I'll do it." There was a kid there named OJ, white kid named OJ. He probably had just about every kind of steroid possible in him, all broken out, very watery, very puffy, but also very, very big. Like almost like a fat bodybuilder. And a kid, one of the kids that was with this biker guy, this old Mexican guy, who had 5 sons, and they were all big, and they were all. I think the youngest one was probably 14. And they ranged up to about 25. And as he and his sons are walking out, and by the way, nobody fucked with this old Mexican guy because they knew he was HA and he was connected. And man, besides, he didn't hurt anybody. He always minded his own business. But he just had that air about him. Well, I watched his son grab something as they walked out and stick it in his coat, and I walked outside and I didn't even talk to the kid. I just went to his dad and I said, "Look, let's just pretend like it never happened. It's not a big deal. We don't need to get anybody else involved. We don't even need to let the management know. I saw what happened, and I've done a couple dumb things in my life, so let's just have him put it back." And he turned around and looked at his son and he said, "Did you really do that?" And his son looked at the ground, and I thought, "Oh, this kid is going to get a fucking beating tonight. Like, he is going to get beat. And if his old man doesn't do it, maybe all of his brothers are going to do it." And right then, OJ comes running out of the batwing doors of this saloon with the bottom half of a pool cue and hits the kid. It's almost like if you killed Ayatollah Khomeini, the spiritual leader of a country. Imagine if I don't know, you killed the Pope. What do you think Catholics would do? Okay, so you hit the youngest of 5 brothers. What do you think all of his older brothers are going to do next? And I worked there. I had the shirt on. So not only did one of them start wailing on this idiot OJ, but they also turned their attention to me. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a hell of a night. So, one thing led to another. I ended up with the kid grabbing me. And then somehow I ended up on top of him on the ground. And I was trying to pick him up because I remember, he's 14 years old, a big kid, but he's just a kid. And there was no way. I think he tried to hit me a couple times and missed completely. He was just totally flipped out of his mind on adrenaline. So I was trying to pick him up, and somebody grabbed my shoulder. And when I turned to look, it was his brother, and his brother just went right in the teeth. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch, that hurt. So I dropped the kid and I grabbed the big brother, and I got ready to hit him. And right then, the whole parking lot lit up. Police. And I just straightened out his shirt and I said, none of this happened. And I said, get up. And I helped the kid up and I said, nothing happened. And the dad was standing nearby, and he goes, thank you. And I said, oh, don't thank me yet. If the cops show up, they know something's up. So they asked everybody who was involved in the fight, and everybody agreed it was OJ and only OJ. Apparently he got in a fight with himself. So OJ got in trouble. Nobody else got in trouble. And when they left, the old man thanked me, and I thought, yeah, I guess that's a good one to have on your side, If somebody owes you a favor and it's a guy who happens to be tough as hell and have a bunch of tough kids. But I remember thinking my teeth are going to fall out now because my front teeth were loose. A couple days later, it was like they'd never loosened up. And I really believe that if you got hit and your teeth got loose, that was it. They fell out. But apparently that's not the case. Luckily, I haven't tested that theory since. 6'7". Uh, my MM, I'll tell you really quick. I drank a gallon of milk a day up until just recently. Every day, whole milk, none of that 2% shit, skim or any of that. Um, so I'm with this kid, Zach. Zach was from Lubbock, Texas. He drove a souped up Subaru. He was in the when you have a fake limb. Why am I not remembering that? Yeah, a gallon a day. Um, that's why you'd either. It's probably true. Um, uh, uh, Calisthenics. What a fucking idiot. Calisthenics. Prosthetics. Calisthenics, prosthetics, whatever, Nick. Thank you. Um, so yeah, he did prosthetics. He made a shitload of money. Wanted to be a UFC fighter. So this was when I was at the Lions Den. And the Lions Den was started by Ken Shamrock, but he didn't actually show up at the gym. It was like a franchise deal. We had some studs there. We had some really, really, really good fighters there. And Zach wanted to turn pro. So Zach was a funny guy. He's about 6'3", 6'4", probably 240. Not an ounce of fat on him. Built like a fucking, looked like he was chiseled out of granite. Super short hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, super, super short hair, military haircut. Big square jaw. Complete dipshit. And when I say complete dipshit, I don't mean he was stupid. He was actually pretty intelligent guy, but he had like never trust a bitch tattooed backwards on his arm so that when he flexed in the mirror, he could see what it said. I mean, really? How's your wife going to feel about that? First of all, how'd your mom feel about that? Do you have any sisters, dumbass? Whatever. Anyway, typical dipshit alpha male at 20 something years old. One day we're wrapping up, we're getting our hand wraps on, and we were going to be doing jujitsu that day. And I hate fucking jujitsu, man. I hate it. I love striking. My favorite is Muay Thai. That's what I do best is Muay Thai. And I just, yeah. But part of the reason that I didn't like it was because I sucked at it. I really did. I sucked at it. I would get winded so fucking fast. And even when I could run 5 miles. I could bike 10 miles. I could even do Muay Thai, advanced Muay Thai workouts, which starts with a half hour straight of jump rope. A half hour straight. It's not like boxing 3 minutes, take a break, 3 minutes. None of that sissy shit. Half an hour nonstop jumping rope. I could do that. But somehow I just got gassed every time. And I figured out why later, but we're doing our hand wraps and we're getting ready to go in and start sparring. And he looks over at me and he goes, "Yeah, by the way, man, I never did get a chance to ask you. You're older than most of the guys in here. I know you're older than me by a little bit, right?" And I said, "Yeah, what are you?" And he goes, 20, I think he said like 23. I said, "Yeah, I'm a little older than you." And he goes, "How old are you?" And I said, I'm 44. And there was just a silence. And I looked over and he goes, "Holy shit. Dude, what does it feel like to be that old?" And I said, "Well, you're asking the wrong guy. I mean, I just got done playing college football. I feel good. I feel fucking great. I feel like, it feels the same as it did when I was 24. He goes, "Really? But it's so old." And I said, "Yeah, I guess maybe from where you're sitting it is." So I I get in a ring with him. we're we're fucking around, we're having a good time, and they tell me to take top position, and so I take top position, and I've got I'm standing on the balls of my feet, and I've got my arm across his neck, and he's got his head turned to the side so he can breathe, and he's trying, and my feet, so my butt's up in the air and my feet are very wide apart, and he's trying to get me off of him, and I'm holding my breath. It's funny you said that, Charles. I'm holding my breath like I always do when I do jujitsu. And my coach goes, "God damn it, would you just breathe and relax?" And I realized I've got my arm across his neck and I'm on my elbow. Well, if you're trying to put pressure on somebody's neck, you probably shouldn't try to balance yourself on your goddamn elbow, should you? Because if you're balancing yourself on your elbow, guess what? You're not putting pressure on their neck. So, for the first time ever, I actually listened to my coach and I went, and I relaxed my elbow and I just relaxed all the way down, all of my weight, all 300 pounds on my forearm and the balls of my feet. So most of my 300 pounds would have been on my forearm across his neck. And he went, "Oh." And somebody next to the ring was like, "Come on, man, get him off of you." And he goes, "I'm trying. It's like having a dead fucking horse on me." And I leaned in and I looked at him and I smiled and I said, "So tell me, Zach, how does 44 feel?" And he got this huge fucking grin on his face and he goes, "It fucking hurts, man." And I knew right then when he smiled, because he must have been in pain, man. That hurts. I don't care. Look, you'd be the toughest motherfucker in the world. When somebody puts their forearm on your neck, that hurts. So for him to be in that position and to actually start laughing, I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy's a warrior. This guy's a fighter for sure." And sure enough, I went and watched him at his first Rage in the Cage. And Zach had this one thing that he did. He could kick. He would do a Muay Thai kick, and he would roll his leg all the way over, and just absolutely. I mean, when he kicked the Muay Thai bags, which are much longer than normal bags, when he kicked the Muay Thai bag, the explosion that it made would stop everybody in the gym every time. The first time he kicked, it was such an incredibly loud explosion that everybody would stop and look. And it's like, "Oh, it's Zach." And they'd go back to it. And then he could kick it 10 more times and nobody'd look. But that first time, he would kick it so hard. And I remember showing up for his first fight because, I mean, hey, we go to the same gym. It's what you do. So I showed up for his first fight. There's probably only a couple thousand people there. I don't even know what the prize money was or whatever. But keep in mind, he's 220, 230, something like that by this point. He's a heavyweight. He gets in there with this big biker looking dude. He's dancing around and he kicks him. Just opens one up, gets him right on the hip. And I thought, "Oh God, I have felt that. I felt that through pads and it made me want to sit down." And he took a deep breath and reset and did it a second time. And the guy collapsed. Fight over. And I was like, "Oh, you just ended a fight with 2 Muay Thai kicks, dude." So I don't know what happened to him after that. He moved. I mean, here's the thing: it's when a guy wants to be a UFC fighter, and he's building prosthetics, and he's making 125 grand a year. You know that he wants to be a fighter because he wants to be a fighter. It's not about the money. So where he went from there, I don't know. I haven't seen him in the UFC. It doesn't mean he wasn't a professional fighter, though. I'm 60 now. Um, so did he become a professional fighter? Hell, he might be fighting in Pride right now, or one. He could be overseas somewhere, just fighting his ass off. He could be in Europe making a shitload of money. Those guys actually do make a lot of money. The UFC is considered the top, but like Aspinall, Tom Aspinall. I don't know what he's getting paid, but it should be a lot more than he's getting paid. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the UFC. It's now being played exclusively on Paramount, which again is owned by Larry Ellison's son. So basically, it's controlled by Israel now. Period. Say whatever you want, but it's controlled by Israel. That sucks. That is not fun for me because I'm in a situation now in my life where I've done enough research that I don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with Israel. Am I anti Semitic? No. Am I anti Israel? Well, it's almost like a fixed, the question, but it's been fixed. There's no way to answer it without seeming like you're guilty of something because the question is, are Jews uh, anti Caucasian? Are they anti Christian? Are they anti Christ? I mean, I know that term carries a heavy sort of you know uh, burden with it. But if they think that Christ is a lying bastard, then they are anti Christ. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely America first. I mean, I was born here. My kids were born here. My, my family goes back on one side of my family, on my father's side, all the way back to the colonies. On my mom's side, I'm the first generation. My mom wasn't even born in this country. So I am the first generation to be born here. So, I mean, that's a pretty all American family, if you ask me. One side goes back, 270 years, and the other goes back 65 years. It's like, wow, okay. You know, we got everybody represented here. So, um, and do I want do I want the destruction of Israel? No. My mom, well, it depends on what you called it then, but um, my mom was technically born in Germany, but it's actually Poland again now because the Germans had taken it, and it was uh, a concentration camp. She was one of out of 3,000 children to be born at Birkenau. There were, I think, 30 something kids that survived. And that's just simply because they were born right at the end. So, um, technically, you got the silver. Hope you found it. Huh. Stephen Dabbs, not destruction, Americanization. Not sure what that means. Let's see. I think they call them. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But yeah, she was born in what was Germany, but now it's Poland again. So it's kind of odd because I am sure that I'm allowed to become a Polish citizen. My whole family is from there. I'm the first one born here, so pretty sure I get to be a Polish citizen. But the other thing that makes me wonder is like, do I get to be a German citizen? I mean, I wouldn't want to be a German citizen right now. Um, even though technically I was born in Germany, or my mom was born in Germany. But I don't like. It's just I wouldn't want to be German right now. Being German is embarrassing. It went from being a great nation with a long history and a storied past to um, a bunch of people trying to outwardly show how they weren't normal. They were so liberal, and so it's just weird. They've like you can't even be proud of the fact that you're German if you're German. That's very odd. Now, are there a lot of incredibly arrogant Germans? Yes, but they have to hide it. Well, that's no fun. Like, if you're going to be arrogant, and give us good reasons. So it's just it's one of those things where it's like, okay, competition. It'd be great if the Germans just came out and said, "Hey, listen, we're better than you." Now, why are we better than you? We're better than you because we build things that are better than you. It's like, oh, no, you don't. Okay. Let's say Spain calls them out. All right, Spain, what do you build that's better than what we build? Sit down. Italy, you build some very sexy things, but what do you build that's better quality? Okay, sit down. That kind of competition is good for all of Europe. Now, do I think that Europe is about to fall apart? Yes. Do I think that it was by design? Yes. Who was the one who decided to make all of those people from third world horrible countries with no laws and really questionable morals move to these really idyllic places all over Europe? Who did that? Now, when I say that, what I'm saying is, really, who did that? Who's responsible for that? Well, you don't see a lot of Ford trucks, but that's because the tariffs on. I'll give you an example. A Camaro, which is 30 grand here, is 150 grand in Germany. They have a 90% tariff, so you're not going to see any Ford trucks over there. It's not because Fords aren't as good. Fords are better. Fords are absolutely the best trucks ever made. I grew up with Chevys. I'll admit, Fords are bulletproof, man. Like, you can't hurt a Ford. I've had Fords that had over 200,000 miles on them and drove like they were brand new. El Salvador, very cool. How is El Salvador these days? From what I understand, it's getting cleaned up and it's looking pretty nice. Is that true, Scott? German is definitely outstanding. No, it's not. Who said that? You must be from Germany. Rocky for real. Okay. Explain. German manufacturing. That was a hypothetical. Mercedes are shit. BMWs are garbage. These are cars that literally, if you drive one of these cars more than 50,000 miles, you better be wealthy because they will start to fall apart. Audis included. As a matter of fact, the Panamera and the Cayenne were voted worst car and SUV ever built in Europe. That's hard to do. When you're building Cayennes that you expect to sell for $100,000 and they don't make it to 50,000 miles, what the hell is that, man? They're garbage. They're shit. $1,200 for the seatbelt extractor on my buddy's car. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, the thing that pushes the seatbelt out so you can reach it? I said, you're fucking kidding me, right? And he goes, nope, $1,250. What? Okay, that's stupid. That is stupid. Unless, of course, it doesn't fail for 500,000 miles. Talk to me then. Look, the 560 SEC, let's say 1989, big 4-door, 5.6 liter V8, 4-speed, Getrag transmission, was absolutely the best car ever fucking made. When you slam the door, it was like slamming the door on a vault. It made a thud. It didn't go clank. It made a thud. It was like it was all carved out of one piece of steel. Since then, straight downhill. Yeah, see, that's the thing. The Germans were the best. They were the best for many, many years. And then the 2000s, they just decided to suck tit. They're pathetic now. They're really pathetic. And it's almost like, okay, so what, you guys just give up? You just quit? Like, it's sad. They just quit. Oh, well, we were really good for a while, but we'll never be able to compete with Japan. So fuck it. Let the barbarians in, and we'll just let them, grape our women in public on New Year's Eve and not do anything about it. What? Wait, Austria's even worse. Holy shit. I was just reading an article that was written by a guy in Austria, and he was like, wow, this place has lost it. 70% of the kids in the public school system in Austria don't speak German. 70%? Are you shitting me? No, they're not going to take over the United States. But here's the question. Who allowed them to take over Europe? That's the question. Who allowed that? I want to know. I want names. I want fucking names. Oh, well, it was a decision based on the moral majority that was very progressive. Fuck that. No, I want names. I want to know who did this. Because I got a bad feeling about this one. No. Not by herself, she didn't. One woman doesn't make a decision like this. Okay, but the WEF. Yeah, 70% of the kids in Austria in the public school systems. What the fuck? They speak Arabic, but they don't speak German? Nope. No, siree. So here's the question. Who did this? Because I can tell you, if you were going to try to destroy Islam, and there were only 15 million of you, and you decided you were going to destroy Islam, going straight at them would probably be suicide. That's just a kamikaze attack, and it's not going to work. But if you could foment a war between a religion of 2 billion, Islam, and a religion of 2.2 billion, Christianity, well, now you got something for yourself there. And who's going to win that war? Well, hands down, it's going to be obviously the Christians, because look at what the Europeans. Look at the percentages of Europeans, and look at the percentages of countries that are not European that can produce weapons like the Europeans or the Americans. Because the Asians ain't getting involved in this one, folks. You think China's going to get involved? What are they going to do? Throw in with the Muslims? No. They're certainly not going to throw in with the Jews on this one, because they see what's going on. They're not stupid. They understand the whole point of this is to dominate the world. China does not want to dominate the world. They have been an administrative government now for about 3,000 years. Well, what does that mean exactly? What does an administrative government mean? It means that they are set up in such a way, they always have been, to administer to their people what is best for our people. That's it. No hegemony, no, well, let's go take over this place. Let's go. They've been invaded many times. Many times. They've been invaded by the Japanese. They've been invaded by Attila the Hun. They've been invaded by the Mongol warriors. They've been invaded by whoever. I mean, everybody's invaded them. But how many times have they gone out seeking to take over the world? Anybody? Belt and Road Initiative. Do I think that they're trying to take over the world? No. Do I think that they're trying to secure all of the energy needs of the future 100 years for themselves? Oh, yeah. Do I think that they would secure those energy rights at the cost of the United States? Of course. And we would do the same thing. Look, when it comes right down to it, who are you going to feed first? Yourselves. Do I think that they have some malevolent plan to take over the world? No, absolutely not. Do I believe that Israel has some malevolent plan to take over the world? Of course I do. I'm not stupid. I can see what the Talmud says. You have to understand something. When somebody tells me that I'm not a human being, okay, we're done. We're done here, folks. They actually, and again, tic tac, fuck you guys. This is not misinformation. I am literally quoting from the Talmud. Now, my pronunciations aren't correct, so I'm not even going to attempt them. But if you look this up, this is absolutely true. The Jews believe that there are two different types of souls. Every living thing has a soul. They believe that. That's sweet, right? Isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful. So does a dolphin have a soul? Oh, absolutely. Most certainly they have a soul. Can they love? Yeah, they can love. They feel emotion. Wow, that's pretty cool. Do I have a soul? If you ask a Jew, do I have a soul? I'm Goyim. I'm a Gentile. I'm not Jewish. Do I have a soul? They'll say, of course you have a soul. It's a silly question. Of course you have a soul. We all have a soul. Oh, do you have a soul? And they'll say, of course I have a soul. I'm a Haredi Jew. I'm ultra Orthodox. Of course I have a soul. Oh, so we both have souls. Absolutely. So we're the same. No, but we both have souls. A Jew has a human soul, a higher soul. A Gentile, any non Jew on the planet Earth, has an animal soul, just like a dog or a cat or a monkey. It's a soul. You can feel love, you can feel pain, but it's not a human soul because you're not a human. You're not one of God's chosen people. See, God's chosen people were given a specific type of soul only for humans. So, unless you're one of them, you do not have a human soul. Now, isn't that a bitch? I found this out, by the way, from someone who has grown up Jewish their entire life. They've studied the Talmud and the Torah their whole life. And they are slightly, I would say that they're disappointed. He is disappointed. He's sad because he's been a good Jew his whole life. And when I say good Jew, I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean, he's practiced. He's gone to temple. He's gone to synagogue. He's done, he went through his bar mitzvah. He honors the Sabbath, all the things. But when he found out, I should also mention that he's from New York. And if you know anything about the special group of New York Jews, it's very scary. Is it called Shabbat? Chabad? Shabbat? I'll have to look. It's always about the oil. Oh, no, no, it's about much more than that. It's about the fact that, and this is the best part, and this is something that he said. He said that Jews don't even look at it as we're better than you, so we get to have you as our slaves. That's not how they look at having us as slaves. And by the way, I'm using the word slave in the exact same manner that it's used in the Talmud. Okay? So, just in my own defense, this is not misinformation. I'm just using it the same way they do, which is slave. Like, 7 years a slave. Yeah, like that. Now, their point is that they feel that God has almost burdened them with this higher soul because it means that we are responsible, they are responsible for us. They're responsible for taking care of us. They're responsible for making sure that we're okay. And of course, yes, they get to use us as a beast of burden, but they also have to take care of us. And they don't necessarily want to, but they believe that God has given them that authority and that responsibility. So they're willing to take on that responsibility because it's in the Old Testament. When you read in the Old Testament in Genesis that God gave man dominion over the animals, you don't realize, do you? You're one of them. You're one of the animals that God's referring to. And Adam is a Jew. I'm just saying this is the way they look at it. So they have a responsibility to have dominion over you. Where's that end? Like, take that one to its logical conclusion, folks. You sow the seeds of discontent, you make the Christians fight the Muslims, and then whoever's left, that's who you're in charge of. Does that sound crazy? Because if it does, I'm sorry. But that's literally what they're talking about. Now, another thing that you should know is that they believe in bloodlines very, very, very seriously. Can anyone become Jewish? Well, you can convert, but it's not really considered true Judaism. Famously, Sammy Davis Jr., the black comedian with one eye, he converted, but he was always considered a convert. They don't really welcome that. You're either the right bloodline or you're not, which is very funny because if you tested most of them, which you're not allowed to do in Israel, you're not allowed to take a DNA test. And the reason for that is obvious. If you are Ashkenazi Jew and you look like me, and let's say that your family's last name was Melikowski and you're a Polak, do you think they're going to allow you to be the prime minister of Israel? Like Netanyahu, who's Polish and his last name of his family is Melikowski? Yeah, they changed it. He's as Israeli as I am. That's all. That's it. So, the crazy part about this is that we are now fighting a war for a group of people who hate us. How could we do that? unless you're willing to admit, that they are actually better than us. They are more evolved. They do have a more superior mind and soul, and therefore they should be in charge. If you believe that, well, then sit back and relax. What I was saying about, that's true. So here's something that most people don't realize. The Jews had a bit of a dust up a while back. You might remember it. It was 79 AD when the Romans came in and destroyed the temple. You know, the beginning of the diaspora where they spread the Jews all over. After they kicked them out of Rome, they were actually welcomed in Rome for quite a while. In 64 BC, they were actually welcomed into Rome, and for a very good reason. And this is the complicated part about Judaism. Caesar needed their help, and this is in Alexandria, and they opened their granaries and their food stores to the Roman soldiers and helped them win a battle. And because of that, uh, the Romans honored them by allowing them to come to come to Rome and gave them special privileges. The ones who were already in Rome, who, by the way, were brought there as slaves, um, but they were brought there as slaves and then given their freedom. And they elected to stay, and it caused some problems. They wouldn't work on the Sabbath, et cetera, et cetera. So they didn't have to be in the military because they absolutely refused to work on the Sabbath. So the ones who got put in the military were immediately court-martialed and killed. Well, you can't just keep doing that. So whatever. All right. So we'll just not put them in. We'll not conscript them. Good. Well, after they helped Caesar, then they were given all kinds of special treatment. And it caused a little bit of an issue, but nothing major really. The Persians are Iran, yes, and they go back 4,500 years, maybe a little longer, probably a lot longer, and we just haven't proven it yet. But so by the time Octavian took over uh, and became whichever Caesar he became, they had actually given the Jews a lot of special stuff. Like, not only did they not have to serve in the military, but they were given special tax breaks, and basically everybody treated the Jews pretty damn good. Now, they did make one mistake. They started converting a lot of people. Back then, you could convert to Judaism easily. As a matter of fact, they really tried hard to get people to convert. And as a matter of fact, that was one of the biggest problems that they had, was that they, there was a chronicler. I forget who it was. No, it wasn't Pliny. Maybe it was Pliny the Younger, not Pliny the Elder, that wrote about the fact that first you move in next to the Jews, and they're polite, they're good people, they're very pleasant. Their ways are slightly different. They have this invisible God, but other than that, they're nice people. And so your son spends time with their son, and then you're invited to have dinner with them. And of course, you find out that the reason you were invited there is because they have a very different diet than, they can't eat the same things you can. But then as you grow old, your son takes over the household, and he's been raised with these Jews, so he thinks nothing of the idea of maybe converting to Judaism himself. And well, of course, when he does, his son and the rest of your family converts as well. And that's been happening for 100 years. And that was their point, was that, hey, you guys are converting a lot of Romans. And we like to think that all the Romans converted over to Christianity as soon as they heard about Christ. Nope. But they were converting over to Judaism at an alarming rate. So that was one of the reasons they were kicked out. But they saw their war, this great holy war where their temple was destroyed, as a huge defeat to the Romans. Okay. They then saw the Romans convert to Christianity and become the Holy Roman Empire. Like I said before, they believe in bloodlines. They now that the United States was founded as a Christian nation, separation of church and state, my balls, in the mid-70s, 93% of the people in this country considered themselves Christian. Now it's down to 64%. So they're obviously winning that battle. But my point is that we were a Christian nation. They see Western Europe and the United States as the continuation of Rome, because Rome went from destroying their temple and scattering them to the four winds and basically ending Judaism. And when I say ending Judaism, I mean ending true Judaism. The idea of sacrifice at the temple was the core of Judaism. No temple, no sacrifice, go away. It's over, folks. You can say you're a Jew, but you're not sacrificing. You can say that you're not working on the Sabbath. That doesn't matter. You're not fulfilling God's covenant, period. And they haven't fulfilled God's covenant for hundreds of generations now. And guess who they blame for that? Christians, Romans. So when I saw Benjamin Netanyahu say that the first time that Israel went to war with Rome, they lost. But this time, they would not lose. And then he waited about 15 seconds and out of the corner of his eye looked at the camera and said, "The United States is Rome," and kept walking. I'm sorry. What the fuck did you just say? Like, is it me? Am I hallucinating, or did you just compare me to the Roman Empire and the war that you fought against them, and then say very clearly, this time you're going to win? Nope. You're not my friend anymore, buddy. I don't care what you say. We're not drinking together. We're not going bowling. We're not having beers. No. You just compared me to your greatest enemy in history and said that I am, I'm sorry. I left out a word. Very important word. He said, we are the new Rome. What that means, if you don't know already, if you haven't figured this out, what that means is it means that when this happens, you're to blame, not him, not the Jews. They told you in no uncertain terms. They did not believe in your prophet. They thought that Christ was a false prophet. They thought that anybody who followed him was going to hell, and that the only thing that divided the followers of Christianity and Islam from the followers of the one true God was that they had been chosen by God and they had a higher soul. They had a human soul. And that if you are not a Jew, you do not have a human soul. And like I said, they have two words for the two different types of souls. Chipmunk has a soul. Rats have souls. Mice have souls. You have a soul. They're all the same kind. Jews have a human soul. It's different. That's why you can't murder a Gentile. If I kill a cow, is it murder? It's a cow. Don't murder cows. You can kill a cow. If it's not your cow, you got to pay for it. Think about that for a second. That's pretty crazy that we don't have a human soul. Okay. That's weird. I never knew that before. No. Kimbo. Nope. Sounds interesting. I took Kempo karate. Pressure point. That's funny. I actually had a drunk guy in a bar use me as a crash test dummy, so to speak. I was walking by and I stopped at the bar, and his table was right next to the bar, and all of his friends and their girlfriends and whatnot, 8, 10 of them were there. And he was really shit-faced, and he turned around and he saw me and he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. This guy's perfect." And I said, "Wow, my mom thinks I'm perfect. I appreciate that." And he goes, "Yeah, so check this out. This is how the pressure points work." And he sticks his thumb right there, right in that soft spot, right there. Sticks his thumb in there. And I went, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he goes, "Huh, it didn't work." And I looked at his friends and they were like, "Sorry, dude, he's drunk." And I went, "What the fuck were you just trying to do, man?" He goes, "I was trying to show him a pressure point. It should have just like knocked you on your knees." And I said, "So without even introducing yourself, you just decided you were going to knock me to my knees?" And he goes, "No offense." And I said, "Oh, none taken." And I grabbed him by the collar and I said, "You're done." And I walked him out to the door and I pushed him out of the door. And I said, "Stay outside or I'm going to hospitalize you." And I shut the door and I walked back to his friends. And I said, "I just told him that I was going to literally send him to the hospital if he came back inside." And they were like, "Hey, man, it's cool with us. He's being a dick." And I said, "All right, well, just to be clear, if you see him open that door for his protection, take him home." And he stood outside on the patio for a long time till they left. And they obviously didn't leave because they thought it was really funny. So, yeah, they just made him stand out there. It was during the day. It wasn't like it was nighttime and it was raining or anything, but it was still pretty funny. It was in Florida, so it was probably, now that I think about it, probably hot and humid. But what the hell? Who does that? I mean, who decides that they're going to show me a pressure point hold when I don't even know their name, and they're going to demonstrate it on me? Although I will say that that's not the worst thing that's happened to me. The worst thing that happened to me is a girl actually tased me once. I am not fucking kidding. They had a bunch of tasers out on the counter in a store, and she was looking at them and she was like, "Well, how much is this one? How strong is this one?" And they were explaining to her that, this one will probably put just about anybody down. And she turned and she looked at me. And when she looked at me, I looked at at the thing in her hand, and she kind of held it towards me, and I thought, okay, that's kind of funny. She's pretending like she's going to zap me with it. She fucking zapped me with it. She actually zapped me with it. She held it against my side and pulled the fucking trigger. And it was exciting. It hurt a lot. And I stepped back and I went, what the fuck are you doing? And she goes, well, I just wanted to see, like, you're a really big, strong guy. I thought, well, if it'll knock you down, then I'll definitely want to buy it. And I said, are you serious? Did you just tase me because you wanted to see if it worked? And she goes, well, yeah, it doesn't work. And I thought about it for a second and I said, well, I mean, it hurt like hell. And she goes, yeah, but they said that it would like knock you out. And I said, so you decided that you were just going to turn around and try to knock me out? And she goes, I'm really sorry. Actually, now that I think about it, that was really stupid. And I was like, now that you think about it, like, how, like, what part of that decision chain came off? Because clearly she was pedaling along and her chain came off somehow. Because she looked at this thing that's supposed to hurt you, and she looked at a total fucking stranger standing next to her and decided, oh, I've got a great idea. I think I'll hurt this stranger. You can't make this shit up, kids. So, all right, let's check on silver real quick. I'm having fun telling stories, but we all know that we're supposed to be buying silver because the shit is going to hit the fan. Ooh, look at that. I see a nice little swing trade here, but not for you. Not for you. Not for you. Yeah, we just came down from 90. Where are we at here? We just came down from 90. We're down to 87? 87. Yeah. Okay. So I'm feeling it. I'm feeling like, oh, shit. Oh, wow. Talk about a fucking beautiful crossover. Holy moly. Oh, man. This is awesome. It's the RSI, the relative strength index, is at the bottom, man. It's at 30, and it's just starting to go up. It is just, and it just punched through its average. Now we got a MACD crossover that hasn't crossed over yet. Oh, but it's narrowing. It's coming together. And when it crosses over, that red is going to turn green and then back up. Now, back up by how much? $1, maybe $2. But if you're trading options on this, if you're doing futures, then, do you have a chance right now in this moment? Because I'm working on a two minute. Do you have a chance? And by the way, I pay the extra, $80 a month or $70 a month, whatever it is, to have the real time. So mine's not delayed by 15 minutes. I am on with the boys back east. Yep. I knew it. We got a green candle growing here. MACD is touching. Hasn't crossed over, but it's touching. RSI is starting to flatten out a little bit, but it's still really low. It's at like 38. And to give you an example, it was bouncing off of 70 earlier. It was way up at 70, and it's down, and it's coming back up again. Now, at this point, it's just barely coming up. It's almost flat, but it's a little bit. And the MACD is about to cross over. So we need a full candle. Oh, our candle just turned red. And we're below the 200-day moving average. For those of you who don't know, I'm learning all of this stuff. I'm studying this right now. And the reason I'm studying this is because I want to be able to show you guys how to make money every day. I'll give you an example. You buy silver, you stick the silver somewhere, not up your ass, but somewhere in the closet. Does it make you money? Absolutely. Does it suck that it doesn't pay a dividend? Well, come on. If you're making 60% a year, dividend schmividend, don't bitch. You're making a ton of money. The average guy's making what, 8%, 9%, and he gets a little dividend and he thinks he's happy. Ooh, it equals 11. Ooh, good for you. We did 165% last year, folks. Don't bitch. However, having said that, if you can crack off 10 grand, even 5 grand, fuck it, 1 grand, and start learning how to do this trading, this could put $200, $300, $400 extra per day. S&P minis. That's exactly what I'm looking at getting into, is S&P minis. Because S&P minis in the first few minutes, woo, if you know what you're doing, you could trade for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. That's it. Corpus Christi could have a water shortage. Why? Did Israel hit their desalination plant? You know that was Israel, right? They hit the UAE. And by the way, Trump said, hey, let's not hit the oil infrastructure. And Israel said, fuck you. And they hit the oil infrastructure. Why is that important? Why would we not want to hit the oil infrastructure of a country that we're at war with? Because there are rules. Now I get it. Israel doesn't understand rules. They don't play by rules. And what they do is disgusting. So what? My point is, the rest of us Goyim animal souls have rules that we play by. And one of them is, do you want Iran to launch against Saudi Arabia's oil fields? Let me give you the answer in very simple terms. Fuck no, you don't. Take Saudi Arabia and Iran offline for oil for the world for the next, say, 24 months. Oil will be at $200 a barrel by the end of this month. And it will stay at over $200 a barrel. Now, oh, well, we'll just use our own oil. We make most of our own oil anyway. Yeah, okay, so we pump 14 million barrels a day. Great. That's not enough, but it's good. But do you think that Exxon or Mobil or Royal Dutch Shell or British Petroleum or Standard Oil, do you think that they give a fuck about you? They're not even American corporations anymore, kids. So when you say, oh, well, we've got all the oil we need, really? What happens when Japan and Korea come over here and flip open their checkbook and go, let's say Japan, 90% of our oil came out of the Middle East. Without oil, our economy dies. We've been your greatest allies. Fuck Israel. We've been your greatest allies for 70 years. We bought your bonds. We traded with you. We even just sat back and watched while you went and traded with the Chinese. We need your help. How much per barrel? Well, we would charge you 200, but because you're our friends and we only charge the American market 100, we're going to only charge you 100. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to say $200 a barrel. And then you're going to have to pay $200 a barrel as well if you want oil. Well, that's a funny thing. We could pump it, refine it, and sell it just like that. But you look at things like, oh, I don't know, the fucking idiot pipeline that comes all the way across the United States. Everybody's so jacked about that. Yeah, man, get that XL pipeline. XL pipeline. Okay, well, where's that go? XL Pipeline, bro, goes all the way across the United States. Oh, so it goes from Canada? Yeah, bro, Canada all the way down to the Gulf. Why does it go down to the Gulf? So we can pump that oil, bro. To where? To other countries, bro. Okay, well, hold on. So you want me to run an oil pipeline all the way across the United States that if it ever fucking breaks, is going to dump hundreds of millions, potentially billions of gallons of fucking untreated crude all over my country. I mean, you're going to contaminate hundreds of thousands of square miles if that thing ever blows, or if anybody ever blows it up. And how much of that oil do I get? None. Yeah, no, fuck you. No, 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 no XL pipeline. Yeah, but think about all the jobs. Ever heard of a valve? Uh-huh. Ever heard of a SCADA system? Because if you have, I'd like you to put down what SCADA stands for. And I'm not going to give you that long because I don't want you to Google it. No, it's not a shutoff valve. A SCADA system is the system that controls all of the valves. And you can literally make a SCADA system eat itself pretty easily, actually. They showed a SCADA system that was for a dam that was running an enormous turbine. They showed a kid hack it in 15 minutes. He got it to where the the hydroelectric plant was ready to kill itself. Well, you must not live in the Midwest somewhere. But bottom line is, when you talk about oil, do we have oil? Yes. Does anybody give a shit about you? No, they don't care. These are corporations. They're going to sell to the highest bidder. Now, let me ask you this. If oil goes up from, let's see, where are we at right this minute? 90. If oil goes up from, God, that's high. If oil goes up from 90 to 180, what do you think is going to happen to the price of everything else? You go down in order to make up for that inflation? Nope. As a matter of fact, producer price index is going to shoot up. Scott, I love it when people think they're so smart that they can figure out what's going on in the Middle East. Did Netanyahu tell you that? Because unless Netanyahu told you that, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. The reason I'm not going to guess where it's going is because I don't know what Netanyahu wants to do. And if you think the United States of America is prosecuting this war, you're out of your mind. Yeah, Trump said that it was going to last 3 or 4 days. Trump said no boots on the ground. Now he's saying there might be boots on the ground. We just moved the 82nd Airborne over to somewhere in the Middle East. There are actually boots on the ground for the very first time in Israel. Why do we have boots on the ground in Israel? To protect the Israelis? That'd be weird, huh? Protect the Israelis. All right. Now we got a crossover. We got one candle up. We got one candle down and one candle up. All right. This next one's going to tell you, if you bought, do you sell it? Or are we going for a ride back up? See, people say that all the time. Is it going up or is it going down? Yeah, both. We know one thing, a lot got destroyed. We know a lot got destroyed everywhere. What we don't know is how many Americans are dead, because that is all I care about. And by the way, how much of Tel Aviv got destroyed? Because it looks like, and by the way, when you say that this will be over in 3 weeks and oil's going to be back down, says who? Says who? Do you think that if Israel says, okay, we're gonna allow you to survive this? What came out of Iran last year during the 12-day war was dissent among the ranks because they pounded Israel so fucking bad that they were sure Israel wouldn't try anything stupid for years. But there were a group of hardliners that said, you do not understand the Jewish mindset. We should have made the 12-day war a 2-month war. We should have continued to pound them with rockets. And of course, the counter argument was, well, then the United States would step in to stop us because that's, they're like Israel's the little shit talking mouse. Blah, 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 blah. Don't make me come over there and kick your ass. And then the United States is the fucking lion standing behind them. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, we're really scared of you, Israel. Oh, damn, that's a big lion. So the problem is that 12 days, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem got pounded. The Iron Dome failed, and David's sling failed. Was that enough to convince Israel to just mind their own fucking business for a while? Nope, it was not. So now they've decided, and this is absolutely a fact, Iran has decided they'll decide when this war is over, not the United States. Scott, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what planet are you from, bro? Scott just said that they've got a lot of fertile land in Israel, and there's not a lot of fertile land in the Middle East. Let me explain something to you that, okay, here, you see this little tiny little wedge, right? Where is it? Right there. That teeny little wedge. Well, you can't really see it on this map. It's so small. That's Israel. Now, I know you say nothing fertile, but clearly you're either being ironic or you're a fucking moron. This huge area, do you know what this is called? The Fertile Crescent. Literally, I'm not making that up. You can't make that shit up on the spot because if I had, it wouldn't be in history books for the last, 500 years. They call Iraq the Fertile Crescent. Crescent, it's fertile. Satellite images. Wow. Okay. Well, I think the Kruger-Dunning effect is certainly alive and well with you, my friend. Oh, by the way, that little teeny green thing, that's Iraq. That huge thing, that's Iran. Iran is 6.5 times the size of Iraq. Iraq had 20 million people in it when we invaded it, and we were there for over a dozen years, unsuccessfully. Iran has 92 million people in it. $92 million people. That's a lot of people compared to 20. And it's also 6.5 times the size of Iraq. So it's 6.5 times as big, and there's about 6 or 7 times as many people. Yeah, sure. This war will be over in 3 weeks. Let's see how well that ages. Because I got a funny feeling that a bunch of people who are social media, uh, what are they called? Social media influencers are in charge of this war. And all the guys who said don't do this, those idiots, we call them the Joint Chiefs, the ones who said this is not a good idea. Yeah, we ignored them. Well, Scott, the whole point of it was regime change, wasn't it? And you're saying that the regime might stay, but it'll be very weak now? Really? Let me ask you something, because it seems like you really don't know much about much, but clearly you know that the Ayatollah Khomeini was the spiritual leader of all Shia Muslim worldwide, and that there are upwards of 260 million Shia Muslims worldwide. So imagine if somebody killed the Pope, just decapitated the Catholic Church because they were tired of the bullshit. What do you think would happen inside the Catholic Church? First of all, what do you think would happen? Oh, I don't know, just in Brooklyn. Just in Brooklyn. You know how you've got all these racial slurs that get thrown back and forth, back and forth. You got without papers, WAP, Italian, and you got the mix. The guys, the Irish that drink too much, and what do they all have in common though? What do they all have in common? So many of them. The Portuguese, fucking Spanish, the way they pronounce words. What do they all have in common though? Catholics. Yeah. So you'd have basically 2 billion Catholics fucking furious, wanting blood. And even the ones who don't like this Pope, who think that this Pope, because he's American, is a bullshit Trump shill. And there are a lot of those. Just like last time, there were a lot of people that were like, fuck this Pope. This guy may be from Brazil or Argentina or wherever the fuck he's from, but he's gone way too far. Like, he is not the conservative Pope that John Paul was. That was a real Pope, that kind of thing. So there's always dissension in the ranks of any organization. But you're talking about the one thing that you could do to bring that organization into one cohesive, angry hornet's nest. Kill its leader. Ayatollah Khomeini was in his 80s, and he was dying of prostate cancer, and he knew that. I don't know about you, but I think what he did was actually really kind of genius. He knew we were going to strike. He's not stupid. He's been around a long time. He knew we were going to strike, but he also knew that he only had a couple months left to live anyway. So why not go out as a martyr? So he was having breakfast with his grandchildren. And who just took over? His son, who just lost his children to the Israelis. You think this will be over in 3 weeks? I think you're out of your fucking mind. There is zero chance this will be over in 3 weeks. Look, man, I'm just saying. Kill the mayor of New York. Half the people are going to be pissed, half are going to be happy. Kill the president of the United States. What happens? Just look at President Kennedy. There were people who celebrated his assassination. It's just beyond me how you could ever celebrate the death of a sitting president. He is the commander in chief. And until somebody boots him out legally, you don't just go around killing. But here's my point. Half the country would celebrate and half would be absolutely in shock. MAGA would be absolutely in shock. But if you killed the Pope, Well, that's different. That's very, very, very different. Because for a lot of people around the world, he was chosen by God and he speaks for God. That's like that would be that would be the same as killing the Dalai Lama for a lot of people, for Buddhists around the world. Fortunately, Buddhists are not nearly as prone to violence as we are. Well, that's the problem is we would have to send in ground troops. There's absolutely zero chance we take over Iran. Now, we could do, that. I mean, it's going to cost them the midterms, but they could do that. Well, we did what we came for. Oh, we kicked their ass. We came, we saw, we conquered. We're out of here. Uh, okay. But now what? We're done. We're gonna let the sand people go, man. You know, we had foot on neck, but we're gonna let them go. Okay? They gonna let you go? Nope. I believe that there is a very real chance that Iran will use every single rocket it has on Israel. And I do believe that the only time that it will hit anything else is when they believe that there is a military target involved, even if it's a hotel. If they think that we're hiding military strategists in that hotel, they'll hit the hotel. And by the way, the hotels that they did hit the first couple days, whoa, how the fuck did they know? They knew exactly where we had personnel, which, by the way, is also interesting since they never died, but they did get hit. Come on, guys. You got to level up with us. You got to tell us the truth. You can't just pretend like, hey, nobody's dying. Really? The airbase in Bahrain is completely annihilated. Yep, it's no problem. It could be Russian intelligence. It could be Chinese intelligence. It could be Russian and Chinese intelligence. It could be Russian, Chinese, Bahrain. Because Bahrain, by the way, if you didn't know, is Shia Muslim. Oh, the government's Sunni. The tiny little government at the top, those are all Sunnis. Shia and Sunni fucking hate each other. They hate each other. So you got this tiny little Shia or tiny little Sunni class at the top who are trying to stay in control of the majority of people who live in Bahrain. When those rockets started raining down on the military base, did any of you notice what the people in the foreground were doing? They were cheering. They were dancing with their arms in the air, watching those rockets rain down on an American military base. Folks, we're not popular there, okay? We pushed our way in. We've stayed for as long as we can. Jimmy Carter came up with the theory that we've used ever since. I know that sounds crazy, like Mr. Born Again Christian, well, not born again, Christian. And I do believe truly, truly a Christian man, a very good man, regardless of the fact that he wasn't a great president. When he took over, his thing was, hey, look, we're a Christian nation. And the CIA, run by George H.W. Bush, was like, yeah, try that. You go ahead. Fucking try that. Let's see how that works for you. Because the reality is, Carter's the one who said, we have been at peace and not been boots on the ground at war with hostilities towards other nations for 7 years of our entire history. Now, the crazy part is that since he said that, in 1979, we have still not had a single year where we did not have boots on the ground in someone else's country during hostilities, where we are actively putting rounds downrange at an enemy. So he said in 79, we've had 7 years total. That's it. 7 years of peace in the United States. He said that in 79, and in the year 2026, it's still true. I mean, what are we here, folks? Well, look, anybody who says that they're a Christian and says that they want to back Israel is completely insane. You have to be insane. Iraq has a 900,000 person army. Where'd you get that? Think about it. We're in a situation right now where we went into a country with 20 million people that's not even a quarter of the size of Iran. And now we're going into Iran with 92 million people, and we expect to just take it over. Not only that, but you have to understand, Iraq, it's like a pancake. It's pretty much flat. That's why they call it the Fertile Crescent. It's just basically a huge, huge wetland between the Tigris and Euphrates River. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. You know, if you've never seen reeds that are 10 feet tall that grow for 50 square miles unrestricted, just 50 square miles of reeds, it's overwhelming. But Iran is surrounded by mountains. Oh, it's not there anymore. Iran, like the whole area that runs along the coast, this is all mountains, all the way up to where it touches Iraq. And by the way, did you hear that Trump said, well, we're not going to use the Kurds. I don't want to use the Kurds. Do you know why he said that? Because the Kurds came out with their own announcement. The Kurds inside of Iran and across the border in Iraq made their own statement. And you know what it was? We don't want any fucking thing to do with this. We're not touching this. We're not getting involved. Not our dance. They don't want anything to do with what's about to happen because they understand that they are literally sitting directly in the kill zone of the most Iranian missiles, the short-range missiles that they have thousands of. Now, they also have 2,500 long-range missiles, the ballistic missiles, the hypersonic missiles, the big fuckers. And there are different Kurds. And guess what? None of them want in on this. Because if you get in on this, if you're a Kurd and you get in on this, do you know what happens next? Turkey just fucking slams you because the Turks do not want the Kurds to have any more power than they do. They will ignore the Turks. They'll put up with the Turks. Excuse me, the Kurds. But as soon as the Kurds get this much more power, Turkey will take it from them. Because remember, part of Turkey was Kurdistan, part of Iraq, part of Iran, part of Armenia. It was all Kurdistan at one point. Kurdistan doesn't exist anymore, kids. Why? Well, because Turkey said so, and Syria said so. Okay, well, guess what? Syria's on the table again. No, it's not. Because as soon as there was a vacuum in Syria, the Turks went in and said, you know what? We're just going to take this 200-kilometer space and make it a no-go zone. We'll just call it a safety zone, like a demilitarized area. And the Kurds said, well, we were going to keep that for ourselves. And Turks said, no, you're not. You're not keeping anything for yourselves. If you declare independence, we will go to war with you. And by the way, folks, if it hadn't occurred to you, the strongest Muslim country on earth is Turkey. And they're a member of NATO. And Erdogan just made a speech last summer that I watched where he walked up to the podium and he said, I want to make very clear first and foremost that Turkey and the Turkish people are a Muslim country, a Muslim people, a Muslim nation. And I went, oh, shit. That's interesting. Secular? No, not right now. Nobody messes with the Turks and lives to talk about it. So, what have the Turks said about this war so far? Isn't the silence coming from Turkey almost overwhelming? It's deafening. It's like, you're the biggest, baddest Muslim nation on earth. You got the weapons. You got the clout. You could literally say to Iran and Saudi Arabia, you two fuckers are done right now. We're in charge. Put away the guns. We'll take care of it. Now, what does take care of it mean? Well, you see, the Middle East has had a thorn in their side now for 70-something years. It's called Israel. Could Turkey make Israel go away overnight? In a heartbeat. And they're not saying anything about this war. They're watching their Muslim brothers and sisters being murdered by the thousands, and they're not saying a word. And by the way, did you notice that all of a sudden, Israel's just sort of taken over all of southern Lebanon? Do you think they'll give that back? This is the Greater Israel Project in action. Do you think that the Lebanese don't see what's going on? They're bombing apartment buildings. They're killing Lebanese like they're going out of style. Like they have killed hundreds of Lebanese civilians already, just in the last few days, since they decided to invade Lebanon. Now, wait a minute. We're over here bombing the shit out of Iran for you, and we admitted it's for them, and you decide you started a fight over here, and while we're taking up your fight, you're going to go start another fight, but you're going to make us fight the big boys, and then you're going to take over the defenseless civilian population and kill all of them and drive them out of southern Lebanon and take that over for yourself. Maybe, if you're lucky, all of Lebanon, while we're over here fighting the Iranians for you. Because you're not stupid. You know what would happen if you went to war with Iran directly by yourselves. That war would last, well, we'll see. We'll see how long it lasts. Because when the United States loses its appetite for fighting for a country that hates it, and don't get me wrong, guys, I don't suffer any delusions about this. Jews don't think of me as a human. Anti-Semitic? Wait a minute. How in the fuck did you guys how did you get all of us to talk about how much we're supposed to love you when the whole time you hate us? Wait a minute. Hold the goddamn phone. Anti-Semitic? You're spending my goddamn tax money. You built bomb shelters with my tax money that Gentiles aren't allowed to go in. Yeah, the bomb shelters, that's for Jews, not for Gentiles. What? When I saw that on the news, I was like, wait, you got to be kidding me. No, no, those bomb shelters aren't for everybody. What do you think, they let Muslims in there too? No, it's for Jews and their pets. And by the way, you don't qualify as a pet. You qualify as an animal. You have the soul of an animal, but you don't qualify as a pet. So sorry, guys. If you were in Israel right now, you wouldn't be allowed in most of those bomb shelters. Wow. Yeah, nobody ever accused him of being stupid. That's a fact. Goyim means non-Jewish, exactly. So the question is, if I'm not allowed to say anything bad about them at all, but they can walk down the street and spit on me if I identify as a Christian somehow, I can wear a little cross outside my shirt or something, or God forbid, I actually, wear something that identifies me as a Christian, priest. So they can spit on me. Okay, well, what's that called? It's not anti-Semitic, obviously, because we have to love them. We are commanded by the Lord, apparently, somewhere. I've never seen it written down, but it says somewhere, like, I don't know, was it after they killed Jesus, or was it before that? I don't know. But I know that it was before the Talmud was written, the new Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, which is the most recent, 600 years old now. No, excuse me. It was 600 AD. So that means it was 1400 years ago. So 1400 years ago, they wrote this book. No, I'm not conflating. I'm simply saying that they wrote a book in which they said that Jesus Christ was practiced black magic. He was a false prophet. His mother was a whore who literally got pregnant by a Roman centurion. They actually named the Roman centurion in the Talmud. And that Jesus is now burning in a lake of excrement. Did I miss anything, guys? Did I leave anything out there? I mean, there's the other stuff, but that's not really directly related. I mean, the fact that if you have, what with a child, it's nothing. Oh, look at this. My live is discontinued in some regions. Now, I've never seen this one before. Wow, look at that. That's so crazy. This one got restricted in some areas. I know it is a horrible belief, but that's the crazy part. I just got restricted for even talking about it. Like, that's crazy. If I say I don't like, and then fill in the word of the people who live in Israel, if I say I don't like them, oh my God, the world comes to an end. I can't do business with the American government. I can't get this contract. I can't do that. The police will show up at my door, literally, and say, hey, we understand you've made some anti-Semitic comments, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait, okay, I'm not allowed to do that? But let's flip that around. What if you were Jewish and you said, I hate Christians, I hate the United States, I think they're a bunch of dumb cows, and they don't even have a human soul? What would that be? Oh, that's their Talmud. That's their holy book. What? Yeah, that's in writing. Well, what? That's crazy. But that's where we're at right now. I'm on a hate trip. What an idiot. Look, dude, if somebody spends their entire life stealing from you and spitting on you and kicking you every time you turn around to walk away, do you love them? Do you like them? Do you ask them to marry you? Or do you say, it's not working out between us, and it's not me, it's you? But either way, I'd like it to be over now. Is that hate? Show me where it says what? My job is not to educate you to the point where I have to go get the Talmud and do. I've done all the research. Now, if you can't believe what I'm saying, but you think that it's horrible, then go ahead, look it up. That Talmud lie. What Talmud lie? What are you talking about? Look, I'm not lying. I literally have studied this a lot. The Haredi Jews, the ultra Orthodox, believe that they have a type of soul, and there are two different words. There are two different words in Yiddish. One is the soul of an animal, and the other is the soul of a human being. Okay. So all animals have souls. That's what they're taught. But only humans have this more evolved soul, this more spiritually evolved, godly soul. Now, if you ask directly to an ultra-Orthodox rabbi, as a goyim, as a Gentile, which soul do I possess? They will not mix words for 1 second. They will tell you, you have an animal's soul. Period. That's the truth. And that is what they believe with all their heart. Now, they believe that their burden from God is that they have dominion over us, like it says in Genesis, dominion over the animals. And that means that they have to take care of us. So they have to take care of us? Yes. No. I don't think that God hates animals, but I think that ultra-Orthodox Jews hate Jesus. Absolutely. And they make no bones about it whatsoever. They don't try to hide it. They don't lie about it. They are straight up. He's a false prophet. He is garbage. And it says in the Babylonian Talmud, which is the definitive last version of the Talmud, it says that he is burning in a lake of excrement. It says that. You know that. Otherwise, you're just a bot and you're full of shit. One or the other. Now, if you're just a Israeli bot and you're full of shit, good for you, whatever. You're doing what you're paid to do. However, if you're ignorant, I suggest before you argue with me anymore, you go look it up because it's shocking. When I was first awakened to this, I absolutely did not believe any of this. I did not believe for a second that the Talmud said that to have sex with a child is nothing. What? That's impossible. Like, there's no way. I've spent my life giving shit to Muslims about Aisha and about Muhammad. And what kind of pig does that? She was 8 years old. Oh, well, I didn't consummate it till she was 11. What? That's disgusting. You're a pig. I got 4 daughters. You are a disgusting human being. And then I find out that the Talmud goes way farther. Way farther. And by the way, if you don't think so, you should really study the Babylonian Talmud, because that's what all the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox Haredi Jews study. I got hate speech on this one now. I got restricted audience on this one now for the same thing as that one 15 minutes ago. So the algorithms are out there crawling around on all of my TikTok channels. Are there shocking things in the Bible? Well, first of all, the Old Testament's not my Bible. It's not your Bible either. If you're a Christian, Tell me how many times Christ is mentioned in the Old Testament. Okay, we're fucking done. We're done. That's it. Well, but blah, 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 blah. No. He came and he said, you fuckers are doing this all wrong. You totally screwed this up. You've gotten this completely ass backwards, and I'm here to help you fix it. And they said, you know what? Hang that fucker. And that's it. So anything that they said, that they worship, that they believe in, is anti-Christ, anti-Christian. So the Old Testament, which is all about murder and genocide and screwing your sister and weird shit like that, what you can eat, when you can touch a girl after her period, a bunch of stuff that's just stupid, irrelevant stuff. That's not my book. That's not my book. Now, if you're asking me, how much violence do I find in the New Testament? You tell me. That's the thing. Christ came and said, turn the other cheek. He said, I'm going to turn sons against their fathers. Is that violence? No. He didn't mean in a violent way. He meant, I'm going to turn their beliefs against their fathers. Well, now, wait a minute. Hold on. We all agree it says that he's going to turn sons against their fathers. Well, how? Because their fathers are Jews. Their fathers are Jews, and the sons will believe in Christ, and therefore they will turn against their fathers. So tell me again why I have to support the guys who are wrong, who got this completely wrong, who fucked this up, who didn't do what God said. Tell me again why I have to believe in what they're saying. I don't. It's almost idiotic to even suggest that I would. Like, how crazy do you have to be to tell me, as a rational thinking being, everything they said is terrible? And it's so fucked up that God said, okay, wait, time out. Okay, I'm gonna send a guy. Okay, now this guy is gonna be pretty basic. Okay, he's not going to have a book this big. It's not going to be like the Talmud where it's 30 fucking editions. It's not going to be like the Encyclopedia Britannica. But here's what he's going to do. Instead of talking and writing for thousands of years, he's just going to show you. Okay, watch what he does. Be like him. This is it. Look, it's leadership by example. I got it wrong before. I kept trying to show you ideas and you kept misinterpreting them. You'd see a cloud and you'd think that was me telling you to slaughter a village. No, that's not me. Okay, this is me. And so the New Testament is what God wants. The Old Testament is a bunch of crazy, fucked up, weird stories that make no sense, that are almost so silly that they're laughable. They're laughable. What kingdom did Jesus say, go and kill every single living thing? Kill the men, because they're the warriors. But then, you know what? Fuck them. Kill the women, because, bitches. And kill the children, just in case. Yeah, it couldn't hurt, right? It's like an insurance policy, but it's like a DNA insurance policy. Just slaughter them. Actually, I want you to kill their farm animals too. If it were me, I would have said, I'm sorry, God. Can you speak into the ram's horn? I think I misheard you. What? Kill all the animals. Oh, do you want us to eat them? Like, oh, kill them and have a big feast. Celebrate the fact that we just killed women and children. No. just kill them. But we're not going to eat them? No. Okay, so we're just killing them just because we don't want that enormous amount of wealth. Because farm animals they're money. That's what money was back then. You had 30 cows, you were rich. You had 80 sheep, you were doing just fine, brother. You had a big ass flock of chickens. Well, let me tell you something, babe. You were styling. You take them eggs down to the market every morning. You get yourself some little silver coins. Yeah. So why kill them? I don't know. Because God said so. So my point is this. The Old Testament is a hateful piece of shit full of garbage and stupid stories that don't make any sense. Twice in the first couple hundred pages, a guy goes to a separate country with his wife, meets the king, is afraid that the king wants to fuck his wife, and so lies and says that his wife is actually his sister. Cuckold much? Hot wife? What's going on here? Like, wait, what? The first time it happened, I was like, what a pussy, man. You literally let the king do your wife because you were afraid to tell him the truth? So you lied and said it was your sister? That's weak. And then it happened again. A couple books later, and I was like, whoever wrote this has got a serious thing about, whatever. Oh, and, make sure that if you fuck your dead brother's wife, you don't spill the seed on the ground. Otherwise, they'll be hell to pay for that. What? Wait a minute. What does this have to do with anything? Well, clearly, God's trying to make you a higher form of humanity. By telling me I can't have meat and cheese on the same plate? Yes, especially that. But what if I learn about germs someday and then I figure out that I shouldn't use wooden plates? How dare you question the word of God? What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, come on, really? I mean, this is what's frustrating for me. What's frustrating for me is that I see the enormous amount of people out there who just blindly go along with the idea, the concept that the Old Testament has anything to do with us. It's not even slightly European. It's definitely not Asian. Okay, so where's it from? Well, it sure is fucking African. I'm just saying. Look at their. I've studied their stuff too. Like, if the whole Old Testament was just about partying and dancing and singing and having spiritual experiences and eating the vine of death and communicating with your dead relatives, okay, maybe the Africans pitched in a little there. Yes, I study anthropology. But no, there's none of that. It's sex, death, diet, sex, death, diet, sex, death, diet. Sex, death, diet? What? Sex, death, diet? What is that? What? Why? Why are you doing that? Oh, because we wanted to write down a book about how to eat, how to procreate, and how to keep yourself from getting diseases. Okay, well, but what does that have to do with God? Well, God told us to do it. Oh, okay. Did he tell you to go in and kill that village full of children? Yep. I don't think you're talking to God. Like, okay, can we all agree on this? Can we all agree on this? If you're being very quiet one day, you're by yourself. Let's just imagine this. Play along with me, folks. You're in this nice quiet space. wherever your favorite place is, whether it's the beach or the mountains, maybe out in the middle of the sand dunes in the desert. And it's just very peaceful. Maybe a little breeze. You can throw in a little breeze if that makes you guys want to chill more. By the way, whatever temperature you want. Okay. For me, it'd be just a little chilly, not too cold, maybe 50. 50 and a little breezy. That makes me happy because I'm a fat Viking. And in your head, but not here, like here, in here, and then maybe kind of in here, you get this thought, well, you maybe even hear it, but not really hear it, but you just know. It's just a fully formed thought pops into your head. Plant trees. Plant as many trees as you can possibly plant. Plant more trees than any other human being has ever even dared to dream about planting. Make a tiny little part of this planet absolutely beautiful just through the sheer will of your soul. Whoa. It would not be hard for you to convince me that that was God talking to you. You'd say, I had this spiritual experience and I heard this voice. I might even volunteer that, hey, got to be honest with you, bro, that sounds like that might be God. Well, make Johnny Appleseed look like a pussy. Now, play along with me. You're in that same situation. You know where this is going. I know you do. I have the smartest TikTokers in the whole world. Like the people who are on with me are not dancing braless. And if you are, good for you. If I had the pecs for it, I would too. So here I am in my meditative state, just enjoying the sunshine on my face. And I hear this voice that says, kill everyone in Baltimore. What? I'm sorry, what? What was that? I might even go find the next person that I see on the trail, heading back to my car and go, by any chance, did you guys hear a voice a little like 20 minutes ago that said, kill everyone in Baltimore? And if they said no, I would probably seek medical help. I might actually go straight to an emergency room. No, knowing that the hospital is not the right place for it. But once you tell them that you just heard a voice saying, kill everyone in Baltimore, there's a good chance that they will find a psychiatrist on duty. And if there isn't one, they'll get one there. And then you can have this talk with them. I think you see where I'm going with this, right? So the Old Testament was written by a bunch of angry, ignorant control freaks who wanted to be able to control and manipulate their women and children through the threat of death or the penalty of being shunned out into a desert. The New Testament was written by some guys who met a dude who said, hey, I actually know the truth. And they said, oh, really? So what's the truth? And he said, oh, follow me. I'll tell you all about it. And they followed him. And they said, Jesus, this guy really knows what he's talking about. See what I did there? Uh-huh. And they were like, this Christ dude, I think he's legit. Like, he's really legit. Now, do I think that everything he said is in the Bible? No. And there's a reason that I think that. And this is the kind of thing that I feel really sad for most people because, again, this is that super high IQ making me just a total pain in the ass. We all know how many apostles he had. I mean, it's no secret, right? It's not like, oh, he had a baker's dozen. Although there is that theory that he had. There's another one that somewhere in there that got cut out or swapped out or something. But here's my point. Let's just say that he told his disciples, 12 of them, to write a testament of what they had seen, they witnessed with their own eyes, what they had heard, what they had lived through. And how many books were written by the disciples that we know of today? Now we know that there were 12 of them, right? Let's double back. Let's wrap back around to that. We know that there were 12. That's only 4. Now I know some of you are thinking, well, Paul, right? Saul of Tarsus, the famous Christian killer, who then realized one day as he was riding on a goat or whatever the fuck, and he had a heat stroke and fell. And when he woke up, he saw Jesus, and Jesus just said, "Why?" Walked away. But why is a pretty big word when Jesus says it to you. So I think he realized in that moment, like, yeah, that's a good point. Why am I such a dick all the time? So, well, no, that's an interesting point. There are some Gnostic gospels, but they weren't considered part of the canon. Now, why was that? Well, are you ready for this, guys? I hope you're sitting down for this one. They were considered to be too complicated. Pardon me? When you read things like the Nag Hammadi scrolls, which I got to admit, I read them. When you read the Nag Hammadi scrolls and you read the Testament of John, when you read the book of Thomas, when you read the book of Acts, which is really wild because that one's written in the first person narrative. I, Jesus, say to you who have ears to hear and eyes to see, these are the types of things that are in the book of Acts. Whoa, was there a book that was written by Jesus? Well, the Nag Hammadi scrolls are extremely ancient. I believe they're within 100, 150 years of when Jesus was alive. So they are extremely old. They were found in Egypt. Interesting. Well, so are there more, are there more testaments of Jesus? Well, according to the church, no. Let's just knock it off at 4. Okay, but we know there's 12 guys. Okay, but let's just stop at 4. Okay, but I hate to be a stickler here, but if you believe that Christ was the Son of God, the prophet who came to teach us the truth of the one true God and of the universe and all of the secrets to not only entering heaven, but being in heaven here while we're on this planet, wouldn't you want all of the books? But don't you want all 12? Because there's got to be at least 12. And according to the Nag Hammadi scrolls, which were found in Egypt, the Nag Hammadi scrolls are complete with the book of Acts, which is a first person narrative written apparently by Jesus. And having read it, I will tell you that it was the first time in my life that I thought, okay, this I believe. Like this I could believe in. Because up until that point, it was like, okay, here it is. Here's Christianity. Now I know you people are all retards, so I'm going to make this simple for you. Jesus good, Satan bad. Everything you do bad, because you're going to do bad stuff, that's okay. Just do whatever you want. Blame it on Satan, and then pray to Jesus. Cry too. Crying's good. Crying's very good. And Jesus good, Satan bad. Okay. How many times do you have to go through that? What? Hateful behavior? I thought I was being very kind. Well, now that you start, Tic Tac, you're hurting my feelings now. It's just hurting my feelings. Damn it. I have feelings too, you know. Oh shit, not another one. Oh, live access removed. I should live in Canada. That would be awesome. Okay, so I just had my live access removed on my big TikTok channel, the one with 129,000 or 119,000. And by the way, it finally went from 119,000. It went down to 119,800 from 119,900, where it's been for over a year. Unbelievable. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see. View the details. Do I agree with this decision? No, 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 no. My live does not contain hateful stuff. No. And then I'm going to appeal it. Why am I going to appeal it? Because I didn't do that. It doesn't contain the stuff. I was quoting, this is fucking awesome, the Old Testament. Okay, now let's see him hold that one back. They're going to be like, oh, shit. God damn it, he was quoting the Bible. Well, we're going to have to let that hateful shit go because, well, God said it. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll be back up on this channel in about 5 minutes probably, but I've been on here for 3 hours, so I'm just not feeling it right now. So I'm not going to go back on there tonight. Wait, is that right? I've been on here for 2 hours and 50 minutes? Ken? Damn. I guess I have been on here for a while. Yeah, man, my pleasure. My pleasure. That was fun. I had fun doing that. Let's see, on the other channel, I managed to get 14 new followers. I got 30,000 likes. That's not bad. And on this channel, which is brand new, I only got 2,300, but that's okay because it's a brand new channel. Hell, I've only got 3 videos up so far. I'm going to put more up, but I've only got 3 up thus far. So yeah, good stuff, man. All right. Well, you guys have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. I think 3 hours is enough for tonight. And all right, guys, I'm going to end the stream. That is all she wrote. You guys